In the enterprise, when you have to deal with the access keys, but you have to think about to control the access of your environment, especially when you have to deal with your vendors and they have to do some things for a certain amount of time, then only access keys couldn't help you to achieve your goals. Because when you just generate the access keys, it is absolutely fine to provide you those kind of security over the API keys, or if you are using a .NET application, C#, or maybe a Python, it's fine. You can use your connection string and build your application or a website. But again, like if you have to give in a certain situation the access of your resources, then you have to start working out on those granular level kind of security phases, and exactly that's what we are going to learn today. Even let me put you in one of the situation to make you even better understand the topic of today, that is shared access signatures. Hello guys, my name is HarshArena, and in this video we'll try to understand what is the use of shared access signature, how it is going to help you in the real world, and in what scenario you have to start using this option. Let me start you with the one kind of example. Let's say one person from a vendor team contacted you and said, okay Harsh, please start helping me out to provide me the connection string in which I would like to apply some changes on the website or maybe on the application. But for that, I'm using a blob storage and my data is gonna stored in that place. So to access that successfully, please generate the access keys and provide me that. So it's absolutely okay. Oh yeah, do not disturb. All right, actually I have enabled it so that nobody is gonna disturb me. All right, so likewise as said, the person contacted you and you're trying to provide the access keys, but with access keys, what you have to do with that person, you are giving him the complete access of the storage account. Because if you remember, we simply go to the access keys, it start using either key 1, the primary key, or the secondary key, which we called key 2 now, and it just generate the connection string. And simply you use your URL or the connection string and they can start working on the application. But here's a scenario. In this scenario, you have to give access to the limited time to that person. Let's say, you have just 15 days of work, and within the 15 days, that person need to take care of this, like whatever the data he would like to upload, update, or whatever the reason is for the organization and for the enterprise purpose. So guys, you have to start applying a way to use those access keys, obviously for the security purpose, and allowing them to do the certain thing in the storage account. Definitely, I give you one example. In this picture, you can see some kind of allowed services is there. And in the allowed services, you can see the blob, file, queue, and table. So meaning is by default, under the storage account, you can find only these kind of services. And as an example, you don't want to allow all of these services to be used, because frankly, if you just generate the access keys and provide those access keys, including the connection string to the person, they have the complete control of the storage account, which definitely at this moment you don't want. A requirement come that, hey, I just want the access of the blob storage. And in that scenario, you have to start using this shared access signature. Now, what it actually help you is to just select the right service that you want to give access to the person. And apart from that, you don't want to give the complete access of the blob storage, only the container. Means like whenever you start creating the new folder or directory inside the blob storage, we called it container. And inside the container, any file, could be a CSV file, could be a video file, could be an image file, all these files considered as a part of an object. So you are actually, trying to use all these options to control that particular person for a certain things to do on the storage account. And right after that, you even can assign the permission, because with the access keys, you can definitely use the complete like honor permission on the storage account, and this is exactly I don't want to give as an administrator to anyone. So from the security point of view, you can select any specific kind of permission. Like for example, if this person wants to modify something, I will give read and create or add. I mean, this is just an example. I will explain later on what is the difference in between them. But at this moment, you can select the right permission. And once you select the right permission, here, the very, very important and the big reason of using this shared access signature, that is the timestamp. You can select the specific timestamp. Okay, I don't want to give access to this person, the complete access of my storage account. Instead, I will select whether this person gonna be work for next 15 days or maybe for 10 days, maybe for 30 days. It's all up to the requirement. You understand my point, right? So based on those requirements, you can select the dates, and once the date and the time zone is selected, you are good to go. And one more thing, as an example for, let's say, Alienware as an example, because I had Alienware with me and they always provide the latest drivers to update my Alienware. So in that case, what I have to deal with the situation that they can provide you one page on the website, and on that page they also have some files to be available to be downloaded. Basically behind the scene it's a blob storage, but on a front end I just see the download option. I cannot modify as a user, as a normal user, I cannot modify things, but I can download, right? I can download, I can read the information. So that is exactly, we are gonna deal with that with the allowed IP, because once, if you are the person that you want to allow someone to just update the blob storage for the download purpose, as an example, you can also specify the IP address. Only these people who have these IP address range or the certain IP address are allowed to actually deal with this blob storage, because like I said, I don't want to allow file, queue or table storages from the storage account. So that is exactly, you have the all advantage and you are actually controlling your storage account based on the requirement exactly you have. So finally, now you go to the next step and you have to select the right protocol. I never ever recommend or suggest anyone to use HTTPS or HTTP to use simultaneously. I always recommend to use HTTPS. The reason being, I definitely don't want to allow anyone to hijack or to actually gain access using unauthorized way, and it can also actually display your connection string including the pass key, or you can call the access key in this situation. So always suggest and use HTTPS. And why is that? Let me explain in just a moment to make you understand even better. And one last step, obviously here you can find out the preferred routing tier. At this moment, we can obviously use the basic one. You can have even more if you have configured this internet routing and mobile Microsoft network routing. Obviously that's a very specific scenario, but most of the time on a public front, we always like to use the basic default, whereas the Microsoft peering actually works and everybody can access around the globe, have the accessibility of this storage account. And the final step, once you configure the shared access signature, you either have to select key 1 or key 2. That is exactly comes from the previous topic that we already covered, access keys, if you remember, right? These access keys are responsible for to generate a kind of a 512 bits encrypted passkey, and it can help you to actually protect your identity if someone like to access your blob storage, queue storage, file storage, or a table storage. But that's the general scenario, and by using these all the feature, you are actually start controlling, or you can just make someone to be available for certain amount of time, obviously based on the timestamp, and it can help you to save and of course protect your data that is running in the storage account, because you are actually start controlling based on read, write, delete, list, all this kind of permission, because in the access keys you don't have these feasibility, but here you can have even more option to start controlling your data. Now, apart from that, obviously from the Microsoft end, you can even find some of the valid examples, like if you would like to give access resources to the client for a limited amount of time. We already discussed like what certain permission that you like to give, obviously the permission we have chosen, and how long the SaaS is valid. These are the best example to understand shared access signatures. So here we already have this option, like the timestamp that you can select to allow a certain person or certain vendor to have accessibility of the storage account. And finally, I'd like to just quickly discuss about this before to go to the practical, that the Azure Storage actually supports these type of shared access resources or shared access signatures. The first is user delegation SaaS. It is all about the Microsoft Entra, because you know that guys, the Microsoft Entra identities are actually behind the scene are using these shared access signature, because the Microsoft Entra is actually controlling all of these identities, and that is exactly based on the permission level. I mean, you can use these identities to apply permissions. So that's how we can start using the user delegation SaaS. The second one we have is the service SaaS. It's all about the storage account key, basically, that we can allow a person to use these keys from the security point of view, and they can start using whatever the application they would like to build based on Python, C#, .NET, or maybe using the APIs that depends on the requirement. And the final one we have is the account SaaS. Now this is a shared access signature for the account, is all about service level operations. Basically you can assign read, write, delete operation. Likewise we see in the allowed operation. So based on the account level, right now whatever the permission I have, I am the service administrator for the storage account, and we can actually modify all these settings while configuring shared access signatures. And I'll show you in a minute where you can find it and how you're going to use it. But the overall purpose for the shared account signature is to start controlling and use those access keys based on the requirement. And in this requirement, you can select what services you can allow, what resources you can allow, and what kind of permission you can assign to the certain person to deal with the storage account with a certain timestamp. That's all the advantages you have to use the shared access signature. I hope it helps you to clarify your question regarding this. So guys, without a further ado, let's go to the Microsoft Azure and learn more about it, how and where we can configure the shared access signature. So to access the shared access signature, it's so easy to go to the storage account and just find the shared access signature, and then you do the rest of the thing that I already explained in the initial introduction. But let me just show you in the Microsoft Azure where you have to go. But remember, when you have to do these settings, is all about the conditions or maybe the requirement coming from the organization. Only then you have to perform this action. Apart from that, it is not required to configure for all of the user who is a part of your organization. You get that? So at this moment, either you can go to the storage account, simple as that. In the storage account, whatever the storage account you get the details for, simply click on that. And now on the left hand side, under the security plus networking, you can find just under the access keys, because I told you without access keys, it is not possible to configure the shared access signature. So here you have to just select. Once it is done, this is the same screen which I already shared with you. Now here you can select the way you want. Like for example, I just want the access for the blob, and allowed resource type would be container and object. And obviously, I'd like to just clarify one thing that you can see here: write, add, create. What exactly these things are. See, write and add are related to the metadata. Now, what is metadata? For example, in the storage account, if somebody wants to configure the tags or maybe some of the files related data, for example, CSV file related data, which is already inside the blob storage, that consolidate is a part, that part specifically consolidated as the metadata. Metadata is the additional information that can be attached to that particular data. That is all about metadata. So exactly add, this write is for that, and create is simply for just create a new container inside the blob storage. That is all about that. So right now, I definitely don't want to give the delete accessibility. I like to just list is okay. Write, I don't want him to give any write permission. Add, create is okay. Simple as that. And obviously, rest of the two things, versioning permission. It's all about the, for example, if somebody has deleted, some of the data. So actually Microsoft creates a snapshot of every single this mishappening things going on the storage account. So basically it helps you to recover your data in case something has been deleted accidentally within the given amount of time. Then it is a good option for the recovery part. So please enable it. It's good for you. And allowed blob index. Index is always good to find things in a quick way. Once the indexing is finished, it means your data is readily available and anybody can search and find the information as faster as possible. So you can find this information really nice. And basically here you can just select the start date, end date. It's already around 24 hours or not even 24. So at least 20 hours access. So you can select the time frame you want. You can give the IP address. Obviously it's up to you, the IP address you receive. Only then you have to configure this. Once you are ready with it, the final step, select the right signing key, key 1 or key 2. Select that and then select generate SAS and connection string. So basically guys, this first connection string would be helping the C#, .NET, if somebody would like to just build the application using these. Python, if you are using those Python accessibility and you want to give the access to the blob storage, this would help you to take care of everything. Now here is the key. The key is available, right? It's a signing key. This is the key for you. So you can, I cannot copy, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, finally. Okay, this is the key for you, 512 bits. So basically this token could give you the accessibility with these all permission and the settings that you have been chosen during the time of the configuration, including the timestamp. So it will take care of those settings for you. And the final step is for the APIs. If somebody asks you, hey, I just need the, the access for the API, I need the API link, then guys, share this URL with them and you are good to go with the settings you have made here. Like I said, it's so simple. It is just you need to understand which settings you like to choose at this moment during the time of the configuration, that to be on. Nothing very special, and right after that, using those access keys, your things are ready to use. That's how you're gonna deal with the shared access signature. So simple and straightforward. I hope you get that. So guys, if you understand this well, so let's move to the next topic and try to know more about it. In this part of securing the Microsoft Azure storage account, we already covered this RBAC tools in the previous videos as well. And I'd like to just remind you just few days back in AZ-900, where we are trying to cover identities and security features. So I also got this covered already and explained to you that what is a overall advantage of using this role-based access control. But here in specific to the storage account, we just need to understand in what kind of scenarios you have to use this feature and where you can find this. Usually, again, it's a common place. It's not a thing like you cannot find it while you're trying to deploy the security features on the storage account. But the purpose of this one is pretty nice and kind of an helpful for the administrators if they receive a request that, hey, I'd like to just make sure that this user should control this part of the storage account. Means, let's take an example that we are actually using a blob storage, and right here in this picture I try to explain in a very easy way. Let's say I'm using a resource group, and both of these resource group are quite common, but you need to keep in your mind about your identities. So in this one I have my identity called Chris and another identity called Brenda. Now both of these users or the identities have a specific purpose or the role inside the organization, but bottom line is they both need to use a kind of a storage that can help them to continue with their application, or maybe it's a website. So here in this example, like I already explained, that I mean within this picture, this is a glimpse of me, but right now I don't have beard, so without beard I'm really looking really bad. I hope you are following me on Instagram. You can find my passion about like gymming. I was very weak, but now I'm back. I'm getting all those kind of power inside me and try to do more for all of you. But anyway, so the thing is, here the Chris user is responsible for a project called website, and here is a Brenda. She's really beautiful, and her responsibility is to take care of the application thing that she is trying to build for the organization or for the enterprise. But in both of these scenario, we have to start using either, let's say, videos or maybe photographs. So you need to choose the right blob storage, and definitely you don't want them to mix up about their responsibility. You don't want Chris to use the storage for application, and you definitely don't want Brenda to use the website data that has been already uploaded to the blob storage. So here we are using a common blob storage. Here as an example you can see I have a common, consider that it's a common blob storage. Actually it's a storage account icon, but consider that, and here's a blob storage for you. All right, and this blob storage I can have multiple containers. The container I give a name like a project website, project apps. So here I have one blob, I mean container. I'm sorry, I make you confused. These are containers, these are not blob. Blob is one. Obviously you can make more thing inside, but after you prepare the storage account, there will be one blob storage, and inside that blob storage you can find multiple containers. So another container name is application or apps, and obviously there's one more blob for, I mean not blob, container. Come on Harsh, what happened to you? Anyway, it's another container. So out of three, there are two containers I considered as a part of website as an example in this scenario for the Chris. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop assigning any permission for the application, but I will definitely allow the owner or the read based on the operation request these permission to these specific containers. Now based on that, Chris is only and only able to access these websites. Make sense to you? Similarly, if you look at the Brenda, and here you can find out the project name, which means containers as well. So these containers also have a name like project website and apps. And definitely I would like to only allow Brenda to use apps container only, and accept that I don't want to allow anything else. Again, based on their responsibility or at the job, and obviously the role, whatever they are currently consuming. So overall, the purpose of RBAC to make sure that your storage account is available for certain identities with the certain job roles, so that they can upload, they can download, they can associate the link, or I mean you already learned about these access keys, you have already learned about the SAS, shared access signatures. All those are responsibility of these two different people. But here what we are trying to define is to take over those container which is actually been created for the certain specific identities. Now what is going to help you? the Chris is only and only able to go to the project website container and able to access their resources. Similarly, the Brenda is only go to the project apps container and only able to access their services, except that how many other container, even it is exist, is not allowed to touch or to modify, to even access anything in terms of the resources. But it is a very simple step in terms of the practicals, and I will just show you where you can find this option and how you're going to start defining the blob role, and that's exactly we are going to learn in this video. I hope you understand the overall concept, that why we are trying to do it and why it is so important from the administration point of view, because certainly you can meet similar kind of situation if you join any of the organization, and in that enterprise you have to choose the right role for these identities and assign the right permission to take care of all the resources inside the container. So guys, let's go to Microsoft Azure and learn more about how you can assign RBAC roles to the certain identities. For the administration of the storage account for RBAC roles, you just need to understand two things. One, that there are two kind of roles you can find inside RBAC. One, built-in roles. These roles are already predefined, already available for you. You just need to choose the right role, check the permissions. You can just analyze it and assign the permission to the identities. And these identities are Microsoft Entra based identities. Second thing, if you don't like these built-in roles, then of course you can customize your roles based on the requirement, because sometimes it happens that the request is coming from the operation lead and from the management side might require additional permissions which may not be available in the built-in role. So you have to just customize the roles the way you want. You just need to give the right name, choose the right permission, and you're good to go. But where exactly you can modify or create these roles, let me take you to the storage account and let's plan and at least tell you, though it is not difficult and we might already covered multiple times in the past. This video is just gonna help you to find where you have to go for the RBAC role for the storage account and exactly where you have to assign the permission. So for that guys, the step number one, simply go to the Microsoft Azure and find the storage account. Under the storage account, you can find, this is my storage account at this moment. And when I click here, and obviously we are playing around the blob storage, that is right here. And in the blob storage, you can find containers. The container name under the data storage is called the blob storage. And as an example, under the container, you can find two different kind of containers that I have already created for you. And obviously the data and the resource is already there in these both two blobs. Number one, photo blob as an example, because we already took example as a website and the application. You can just, you can imagine in that way only. But at this moment, I have just given the name photo and video. You can just select the way you want. As an example, if I select photo, you can find the photos are here. Obviously, I don't want to show you what that photo is all about at this moment, but you can find it easily. Second, if you go back and if you go to the videos, you can just check this out. The extension is MOV. So if somebody wants to see, they can see this specific video as an example. If I click here, obviously, it's a quick time video. It is obviously available on the Mac. If I click URL, just to show you quickly, I type this one. Wow, it's been, can you see this? Public access is not permitted. And how and why is that? Is because when I created, because this is so important for you, when I created this containers, basically I choose private access. I didn't choose the public access. So guys, you have to understand, if you choose the public access and where you can find this option, if you're trying to see this change access level right here, you can see it's in the private mode, and obviously anonymous access is blocked. Nobody can see until unless it's not a part of this organization, right? So that's one thing. Second thing is, if you are playing with the permission for these two different kind of containers here. So you just need to select any of the container as an example. And on the left hand side, you can find access control, or we call it IAM, right? So this can help you to set up your roles, which are built-in roles or maybe the customized roles, and select and go to the roles. Right here, you need to find blob. If you type the blob, you can find all those kind of permission related to the blob container. As you can see, reader. Reader is just the person who can read the data. Owner can do everything. The contributor is basically cannot assign the permission, but except that can modify, can add, can take care of almost everything inside the storage account. And apart from that, data scanner, if you don't know what that is, but that is for the defender basically, not for the storage. But the important thing is delegator is also here. Like in the delegator, you can just assign the permission key, the access keys. That's a delegated job. And yeah, that's all. This guy can only do that kind of job only. If you are in the enterprise and there's a lot of people who is actually looking for the access, then you can simply assign a person a delegator role instead of assigning the contributor or owner role, to just generate the access keys and provide to the users who is actually looking for. But the bottom line is, based on the requirement, you can just simply select, and obviously you can understand by clicking view that what kind of job role this particular blob data reader has. So you can find out it can do what. I mean, all the details are right here. You just need to understand. And if you are a developer, you can also go by JSON file. You can find the information. And if you have already assigned this permission, you can also find right here. Now, as we want to assign the permission, so simply go to the role assignment and click here, add role assignment, right? And obviously simply need to find, it's not a difficult thing, like I said, select the blob, and you feel the reader role is fine at this point for the user. Select this and simply click on members. The next step, in this step, choose your member, choose your user. As an example, Chris. Obviously I don't have Brenda, but at this moment I just choose Chris. And once you are good to go, simply assign, review and assign. And right after that, this user will start managing, obviously not managing, only can read resources inside this particular container that we have already chosen, photo blob. Apart from that, if there's no role permission assigned to the video blob container, this user couldn't do anything on that particular frame. So I mean, that is how you're gonna start assigning permission on the blob container or the blobs basically. And I hope this is not gonna that difficult to take care of, because we have already learned it, so it's so easy for you. And now let's move to the next one, which is quite interesting and quite important to know from the technical point of view as well as from the deployment point of view. And I'll show in both of these points, I mean theoretical and the concept wise and the practical wise as well. So guys, we are going to learn the Azure files and how you're going to mount Azure files in your Windows operating system, or maybe any other operating system. If you are using a Mac, if you are using a Linux, you all can take care of just by following the PowerShell or the Bash. So I mean this kind of scripts, just run it, your job done. But you need to take care of one thing. I'll tell you what that is. So let's move to the next step and learn more about the Microsoft Azure Storage. I heard a news from the Microsoft, Google, and that they are actually gonna fire a lot of engineers. I'd like to just tell you guys, still the responsibilities are available in these bigger organizations. But again, you need to have that skill to perform and of course to provide the relevant services to their client. And one of them is right now that we are going to learn in today's video is Azure File Share. Now, why it is so important and how I actually relate this with the current job responsibilities, because I have seen a lot of organizations are actually would like to use the storage services, and obviously there are tons of storage services are available nowadays. If you talk about the Microsoft OneDrive, that's for the individual storage use. If you talk about the Google Drive, again for the storage, specifically for the individuals. If you think about the Dropbox for business or Google Storage for business, or in fact OneDrive for business, yes, they are really have a good capability in terms of securing storage, and of course providing all those necessary permission to access your data. But again, there are few features are quite missing. If you are play around with your on-premises network file share, or if you have already configured a kind of a file server in your organization and you would like to use the same and similar kind of permission that you have already implemented in your on-premises using GPO, the group policy object, then exactly you need to rethink about the storage currently available in the Microsoft Azure. And that's exactly we are going to learn today in a both way, from the practical end and of course from the conceptual end, that how Azure File Share is going to help you to build that kind of file storage services for your own enterprise, and of course what kind of facilities, management services, and all those kind of security concerns that we actually learned in our previous part in the video. You can learn all those technologies right now while sharing and mounting the storage in your on-premises environment. So guys, basically Microsoft Azure Files is nothing but a kind of a replacement of your network file share. We used to have in on-premises a kind of a concept where we just build our the storage server, but with that we have to provide the additional facilities or kind of conditions within the organization, like you have to hire a separate storage administrator. You have to make sure the security and the storage team working together for the security and the permission concerns. You have to make sure your identities is been synced successfully, and wherever they go, whether they are in the organization or maybe they are sitting somewhere in a child location or maybe some other the forest location, which is already been a two-way authorization has been already configured in between these Active Directories. I mean, you have to set this up for everyone. But now world is changed already, and we are completely dependent on the cloud services, and that's exactly we are gonna learn in this one, because it is providing you all those facility. You just need to know only how to configure. And even today I have seen people struggling to mount Azure File Share on a Linux or maybe a Mac platform. So I'm going to show you all the commands and the ways how you're going to deal with it and how you're going to mount your storage into those on-premises devices. But make sure you have to make some configuration change or what sort of thing you need to keep in your mind. But before that, it just provides us SMB protocol services, which helps the Windows operating system to actually connect not only Windows, Linux platform as well, and Mac platform also using SMB protocol to actually connect those file system, I mean Microsoft Azure Share, directly in your mounting space basically. And it is nothing but a kind of a directly replacement, like I said, for the network file share. So we also use the network file system, the NFS protocol. And of course, if you are using some sort of application and you want to mount Azure File Share that can help your enterprise to share the data with everyone, then I think it would be a right way to use the REST APIs, which actually consume the URL, the storage URL, and the access keys, which we have already learned. And like I said, it also provides you this facility for the multiple different kind of operating systems, Windows, Linux, Mac OS. But before to jump into the practical, I like to explain this picture, because here are very minute detail that you need to keep in your mind, and you need to understand if you are in the on-premises environment, then what sort of thing you need to keep in your mind, and of course need to showcase to the stakeholders and can explain that, hey, these are the requirements that we need actually to set up the Azure File Share successfully in our on-premises. Before to jump in this picture, one more time, why we need to use Azure File Share or why we need to use Azure Files. See guys, again, you want to share the data with everyone, or not everyone, selected people within the organization using the identities that we have already configured in Active Directory. But now these people can access the data from anywhere, and of course with security with those managed identity in Microsoft Entra. So overall you can have a complete package, and again it doesn't require the specialized person to work in the organization. You as an administrator just need to know how to take care of it. Where are the configuration, where are the right privileged authorization that you need to provide inside the Microsoft Azure files, and I will show you with the step-by-step instructions in the practical. So at this moment, to make this understand, our Azure services can provide you the Azure file shares, and that is exactly a part of a storage account. Don't forget, the storage account is available here, and that can help us to build and create those Azure file share. I'd like to remind you, once you create in 2024 at least, because previously it was working in a very easy way, but now because of the security add-on in the Microsoft Azure, you have to additionally configure the privileged access to this using what I can call IAM, the access control. I have already shown you in the previous part, and you need to understand how exactly it has been configured for the organization, and I will tell you what are the simplest way to deal with these two authorization settings that you have to, I mean mandatory, have to configure on the storage account. Otherwise you are not gonna see the details inside the Azure file share. Means whatever the people have shared the data, you can't see, you cannot access that completely, but that certainly required a kind of a access control to make sure you have the right access of the data. So basically it works on the both side. I mean right now Azure is configured, and always we know if we are running in the Azure environment that's publicly available, makes sense to me. But what about the people who is in the on-premises and the people who is over the internet? All of these Windows, Linux, Apple devices, they all are actually connected with the ISPs, right? The Internet Service Provider. And again, these Internet Service Provider are responsible for to have an internet connection to the devices. And again, your storage is available over the public network. So 100% you have to have the public accessibility, means internet connection to your devices. Otherwise, what you can do additionally, if you don't want to provide, you can set up an express route in between your organization devices to the Microsoft Azure directly. Yes, you can do that. And once you have that, you also have to talk to the people of the ISP team that, hey, please allow me port number 445 to access my Azure file share, because if your port number is not available to access, you are definitely not able to access or manage anything in your on-premises environment. And by default, port number 445 is always blocked. So this is something you need to keep in your mind, and you have to understand. If the people are working over the internet, then you have to have site-to-site VPN. Even Microsoft, once you configure the Azure file share, you can see these settings being already listed in Azure file share, where you can see, and if you want to know more about it, just click on the link and you can have more details about how you can set up the site-to-site VPN and express route in a different kind of scenario. But like, sharing is simple. Once you are using a Windows, you can use the mount network drive, means map network drive. And if you are using a Linux or a Mac operating system, then simply you can find in the terminal, we have a kind of a file system called MNT, mount file system. Once you go inside that, you can find all the detail. And in fact, before to start with the practical, I already write down the script or kind of a step-by-step details for both Linux and Mac, because commands are same. You just need to follow the right direction based on the information provided in the script, and you can find that detail in the description. So guys, that to be all, because like I said, it's all about the file sharing concept, and currently your file share is available over the Microsoft Azure. So you have a more than 5 terabyte. By default is 5 terabyte. You can set up a quota. Even you can go more than that, but again you need a premium support, but it's fine. But just to make sure, 5000 GB is not a small storage amount basically, right? So anyway, let's go to the storage account in the Microsoft Azure and let's see how we can actually configure Azure File Share step by step. To configure a successful Azure file or Azure File Shares, you have to follow certain steps in multiple different kind of operating system. If you are using a Windows operating system, you have to make sure that you have installed the Azure kind of a PowerShell commands or kind of a module on the operating system. If you don't install, then sometime it gives you some kind of problem during the time of the script that we are trying to run on this Windows platform, because once you have the configuration for the Azure File Shares, it actually generates a script, and that actually required the Azure modules to run those commands or those scripts. So yeah, that is the first thing, because we are going to start with the Windows operating system, and right after that we can move forward with the Linux, or you can say the Mac operating system is also going to follow the same kind of commands to configure Azure File Share successfully. But before to jump in on the Windows operating system, I'd like to show you how you're going to start with the Azure File Share, which is obviously pretty simple and straightforward. So for that, just go to the storage accounts, and under the storage accounts, we have already created one of our storage accounts named HarshArena Storage. Once you have that, obviously, either you can click on the file service, or on the left hand side under the data storage, you can find file shares. Any option is fine to proceed. So simply click on this file share. Once you click here, obviously you need to just simply click on file share and type any name you like. I said Windows data for sales. Oh, I thought I'm right in sorry, not Harsh. Don't obsess with name Harsh. Data for sales. I think that would be fine as well. So I just write down data for sales team, and access tier would be transaction optimized, hot and cool. I like to tell you, if you're expecting a lot of in and out in terms of uploading the data and downloading the data, then transaction optimized would be the right choice for you. If it is hot, it means you are performing this download and uploads, but occasionally. I mean, not that occasionally, but occasionally, right? You understand? And cool is for the archive. Mind you, the money is different for all of these three. At this moment, I don't want to explain at this moment in this video, but certainly in upcoming video of the storage, I will explain about the difference between these three options. But at this moment, I'm going to choose the transaction optimized, and that's exactly the maximum input. Read and write operation is like this one. As an example, if you don't understand, simply hover your mouse right here. It can give you all these details. Maximum capacity, 100 terabyte, which is much more than I told you the 5 terabyte, but it is been increased in 2024. My bad, apologies. But if you don't mind, just look at this message. If you like to use the SMB protocol with the share, check you can communicate with the port over 445. If you don't understand how to deal with it, obviously you can click on this Windows client or Linux client. But mind you, in both of these scenario, one option, either you can talk to your ISP, they will allow 445 port number, which is very rare, but in case you are very likely the person that you actually purchased a very high valued ISP services, then maybe you can get these choices. In case no, then one option is express route, I already told you, and the second one is the site-to-site VPN, that is for the internet user. I mean, you can go ahead and understand more about it. But just like to highlight one point which has been added in 2024, that you can now start taking backup of these Azure file shares as well, which is a great sign. But at this moment, I don't want to take any backup. I'm happy. So simply click on review and create, and we are good in terms of validation. So we are good here. As you can see, it's been created, data for sales. Now, the next step, which is a very easy step, now you want to connect. I mean, if you like to share this and you want to connect as a map network drive in the Windows operating system, you simply click on this connect. On the right hand side, again, it shows those detail about the port number 445 with the instructions. I highly recommend at least you can go here once and try to read the details that you can find under this place. Once you understand this, simply click on show script. But yeah, there are two options, authentication method. If you select this one, as you can see, the identity based access is not configured at this moment, so which is fine. At this moment, we can simply choose storage account key, because where we are going to configure this, I'll show you right after we connect and configure this. So give me some moment here. So here I select this storage account key and click on show script. As soon as I click on show script, this will be the script that you want to use to connect your Azure file shares on Windows operating system. But by default, you can't do that. So simply right now, I'm going to copy the script. It's copied. Now, let me just take you myself to one of my operating system that I have already configured for you. It's a Windows based operating system. And at this moment, I am using Windows 11 Professional. So here guys, either you can open the PowerShell, or if you like to use, I choose here Windows PowerShell ISE. This is the the application I choose to run all of this, so that I can show you the step-by-step instructions that can help you to install the Azure modules. So step number one, obviously I write down, you can copy paste, or you can simply go to the Google or Microsoft Learn and find out how you can start installing Azure platform, Azure PowerShell on a Windows operating system. So at this moment, simply I'm selecting this, the very first command, run this. It said, are you sure? Yes, to all. So it will run, all of these commands at the same time. That's absolutely okay. But it may take some time. Why? Because right now we didn't select one by one command. We select all of them to execute at the same time. So it is gonna execute and it will start downloading your, here you go. It will start downloading all those packages which is responsible for Microsoft Azure. And like I said, even I told you in the initial time, if you don't know, you can find the information from the Microsoft website, or simply these are the limited commands. If you can see very clearly, I'll try the zoom in, and I think you can see the detail. If you already seen the command, I'm really happy for you. But indeed, it may take some time. It's not gonna be installed immediately. It may take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It depends on how the internet connectivity you have. What kind of, and of course the performance of your machine. If it is really good, it's gonna install really quick. Otherwise, it may take a lot of time. The only thing I would like to highlight, these three commands, which you can see right here, is responsible for to install your Azure module on the Windows operating system. And the last one, maybe if you are following the Microsoft module, Azure module, on your operating system for quite some time, so would like to tell you, you need to run this command to make sure all the changes or all the latest command which has been introduced by the Microsoft Azure is gonna update automatically right here inside your operating system. And it is really a good idea to perform the update in case you have not done in last few months. It would be a good one. So I personally, I just like to show you. That is why I start from scratch. But I really don't want to waste your time to just look at the screen and what's going on. So I'll pause the video. As you can see on the left hand side again, it start installing the package that is required for the Microsoft Azure. I'll pause the video, and once it is completed, I'll be back, and then we will continue to run the script and see what happens right after that. All right, guys, so it took around 10 to 12 minutes to install all the packages related to, from the repository of Microsoft Azure. So in case you want to install, so it may take at least that much time. So the next step, like I said, we have to make sure we can simply either we can paste. Let me see if we can. Yeah. So this is the complete script that we actually copied from Microsoft Azure Share. And before to run this script, I like to just show you inside this PC. I mean, we can only see C drive and D drive, which is a kind of a temporary storage. And I don't see any of the map network drive at this moment, right? So what we can do at this moment, we can simply run this script and see what happens after this. So I just simply select to run this script, and let's wait for a bit more minute. And once it is finished successfully, as you can see, it's been now attached successfully. And let's go back to find out, and which is right here, data for sales. And as you can see, we can start adding our data if we want to add anything. Let's say test document, test for sales. Yeah, this document has been added. So that is how you can start mounting your data inside the Windows operating system. I hope you don't find any trouble while configuring this. It's not a difficult thing to do. It's a simple step. You just need to follow the right way to deal with it. So now let's go to the Linux operating system and see how we actually configure things there. In the final step, we are going to configure the same Azure file shares on the Linux platform. And it doesn't matter whether you're using a Mac operating system or the Linux operating system, you just need to follow these same commands, and then can help you to actually deploy, or actually connect this Azure file shares directly to the platform. And how it is going to help you, again, you can start sharing, you can start uploading your data straight from the Linux operating system. And like I said already, I have prepared one of the document in which it can help you overall just to follow the steps and can actually connect Azure files directly on the Linux one. But yeah, before to move forward, I forgot to tell you one thing which is extremely important while trying to access your data on the Azure file shares. Now, before to jump in on the Linux platform, I like to tell you that you have to go back to the Azure file shares, and like whatever the Azure file shares you have created. As an example, I have created this data for sales, and on the left hand side, don't forget this step. This is really or extremely important, because if you don't do that, you might not able to access your resources successfully. So you have to go to the access control. I might already assign. If not, I will assign for you. If already there, I will explain you. You have to follow the step and make sure you have assigned storage account contributor if you like to assign someone the complete permission on the storage. And the second, the file data privileged contributor or reader. At least the reader permission is required so that you can start accessing your data once you go inside this browse option. Otherwise, you definitely find some kind of authorization message or error message or failure which leads to you in a different in fact, let me show you. While I'm talking about this, let me just go back to the new file share. Write down data for how about Linux. That would help you as well. I'm always bad in typing. And yeah, I'm gonna follow the same standard, same process. So like I said, we have just created a new data share, and if I take you to the browse, you may find this error message. So mind you, if you want to avoid this kind of problem, and obviously what it means here is like you are not able to see anything right under the browse. And obviously as an administrator, I would definitely want to see what is going on, what kind of data is going to be uploading, and what is being uploaded already in the data file share. So what steps you have to perform? You have to go into the access control, obviously go to the role management, select add role assignment. Once you go to the role assignment, find the storage here. Once you find the storage, in fact, you can find the storage right here. Either you can assign the storage file data privileged reader, which is a minimum requirement. Right now I am the administrator and I definitely want to see everything what is going on. So I'm going to select this contributor permission, storage file data privileged contributor. Click on members, select members. Obviously whatever the members you like to select. At this moment I'm going to select my user. Select the user, review and assign, and one step is done. Now in the next step, what you need to do, you need to assign one more permission. So just go to the arrow assignment, just find the same storage account. Once you type the storage account, see, storage account contributor is a kind of a permission that you have a complete control over this particular storage account. So as an administrator, definitely this is exactly I want at this moment. So I select this and obviously I select the members. The next step, select the members, choose the same user, which I have selected already in the previous assignment, review and assign, job done. So guys, these two permission is mandatory to be assigned. I'm not gonna say assign the contributor permission, again based on the requirement. If this user, you want to just look at the data instead of editing, performing any of this information on the data side, then please assign the reader permission. But minimum reader permission is required. If you don't assign this permission, like I said, you may have this problem with the kind of authorization, and definitely that leads to another kind of problem. You are not able to see anything inside this. So guys, this is very important step, and it is kind of a difficult thing if you follow the documentation. So that is something you need to keep in your mind. Now as a next step, data for Linux, this is our complete thing. So let's go to the Linux operating system and try to configure from the step-by-step instructions. So for that I have already installed, oh yeah, there you go. So I'm gonna type my password here for the user, and there's a password. Okay, now this is a different kind of a Linux operating system, so don't be confused. But yeah, the commands are gonna be same. So again, it's all simple and straightforward. So here's my terminal. I think all of you are very well aware that whenever we perform anything, it all goes right from here. So if I type like sudo get what was the command, if I remember? Not get, I think. Yeah, I'm really bad in this anyway. Yeah, what about this apt get? Let's see if it is going to work, otherwise I'll change a bit. We need to find this one, CIFS UTILS. Now this particular module is going to help you to actually connect your data shares inside the Linux platform. Once you type in there, oh wow, command not found. I was expecting that. So I'm going to change a bit here. I'm going to just remove this and get, how about this now? Oh yeah, unable to locate the package. Interesting. So what about this sudo apt install CIFS UTILS, or what about this UTILS? What about this? Wow, unable to find it. That is really very interesting. I think I need to find it, because without this, if I'm not wrong, you might not able to create. So allow me some time. I have installed this in just a minute. So let me just find it and come back to you. Guys, it took me more than 15 minutes to actually update all sort of kind of repository on this Ubuntu operating system. And once I have done that, and I also confirmed that my apt-get, the latest repository has been updated, then I try the same command. There is no change in the commands. When I try, now this time it is allowing me to proceed further. So guys, once you try to perform, because commands are absolutely correct, but in case you get or you have this problem, so make sure that you just follow the instructions based on the whatever the Linux platform you are using or the flavors you are using, and just update the repositories so that you can find the right package, and the package is exactly CIFS. Now what is the use of the CIFS for you is just one thing, that we are trying to mount the SMB protocol inside the Linux platform. So that is why we are using the CIFS utility here. So that would be your first step. Now the second step is you need to create an directory, but before to move forward, I like to just show you by typing df-h, and here you can see there is no kind of mounting thing you can find based on Microsoft Azure. These are the current mount status on this Linux platform. So I'll do one thing, I'll just perform with the mkdir. Obviously that's mkdir means I'm gonna make the directory under mnt, and what would be the name? Data for Linux. I mean, that would be the name we have selected for. Let us just confirm, go back here and let's confirm it's data for Linux, right? Exactly. We would like to use the same one. So let me just go back and jump in to our Linux operating system. So once we gonna create this one, we are good here. Now in the next step, there's a big command. Basically, without making any mistake, I'm just gonna copy that and make sure that you are gonna follow with the right way. Wow, it's not the right way. I need to just update this in a proper manner. Allow me some time. Basically, it helps us to mount the CIFS version, that is a SMB protocol, obviously. So we have gonna chosen, let me just do it step by step, and then I will help you to copy and paste the detail which is so important for you, because here you have to make sure we are gonna follow the first thing first, the link without HTTPS. Now I already write down this in the script that is already available, and you can find this in the description. So what you have to copy here, so you have to go back to our place, and under this data share you have this share URL, right? Just copy this URL and here go back again, and in this one just make sure you have to actually type the information of the complete URL, but without HTTPS, mind you, because this is really very important, because if you made any mistake, this might not work for you. So I type this, that's fine, but let me just go and remove this one, because it gives you the link of your data share that you want to mount. That's our first step. So after that step, you have to go here and type as a username the storage account name, and the password is storage account key. Now in the storage account name, which is right here, you have to make sure, go back again, and here in the storage account name, go back to this file share, and for better understanding, simply go to access keys. Okay, in the access keys you can have storage account name. So copy the storage account name. That is a very important step. So once you do that, let me just go back to the Linux platform and remove this storage one and type after this paste. Yeah, we are good here. And after that, the last step is storage account key. Again, you have to make sure you are gonna follow this. Now key would be here, the access keys. All right, so once you click the, like, either you can choose key 1 or key 2, it doesn't matter, just choose the complete key. Okay, once you do that, it's copied. Go back again to the operating system, which is right here, and here we need to just remove this place and paste the complete key. Now once you do that, rest of other thing has been already done with based on the permissions. So if this is gonna work, wow, mount, do we have any problem? Oh yeah, one more mistake. See, I told you I'm really bad in this typo, and I made this mistake in the script as well, guys. So you have to make sure you have to correct this. I mean, it's a very small one because there is no command called mount -t. So you have to make a space in between mount and -t. So I'll go here, space, press enter this time. Wow, what that problem is. Okay, so that would be No, I mean, why should... Oh, one more mistake, guys. One more mistake. That's how you learn in Linux, right? So if you remember, we make one directory that we want to mount, right? So what is the name of the directory? And that is good. I'm really happy that at least we had this problem. So data for Linux. Press enter. Done. This time, no mistake, no problem, right? So if you like to confirm whether we are able to mount this successfully, type the same command df-h, press enter, and as you can see, we have already mounted this with the new name right here. And check the storage size. It's 100 terabyte, exactly the same that we used to find inside this particular data share. Now, if you like to understand whether we are able to make anything in that one, so data for Linux, I'm sorry. So press enter, and now we are going to make any file, give any file name, linux try.txt. This is the file name that I would like to create. Done. So if you like to see, obviously you can find ls here and you can find a file. But if I just take you back to our data share, which is right here, file share and data for Linux, and here under the browse, you can find linux try.txt, which means it confirmed that we are able to successfully actually mount it and able to replicate the data straight from our operating system, Linux platform, to the Azure data share. Now that is how you're gonna actually mount your storage, or you consider that Azure file shares in the Linux and Windows platform. And like I said, you can follow the same steps also inside the Mac OS. It is gonna be the same for you. In other way, if the question comes, okay, you don't want to play around with that, so simply click on connect and go to Linux. You can copy the script, you can paste, and you can also deal with it. It's absolutely okay. But I personally have quite some problem while using this script, because you have to actually convert this script into the bash and then run on the Linux platform. But I find a right way that we actually learned using the access keys, and obviously we know these steps, how you're going to copy and how you're going to find these all the details right from the Azure file shares. So guys, that is how you're going to play, and that is how you're going to deal with the settings, and here is the synchronization for your data. So yeah guys, that to be all for the day. We learned with the troubleshooting, and I love that, because if I don't show you these problems, you don't relate these issues with you as well. So guys, once you do with this practical, so you need to understand, find the right information in the error, and based on that you can perform your actions. That is how I always recommend everyone to follow the troubleshooting steps for any of the problem, not just this one, for any problem. So I'm not a Linux savvy, but yeah, I know Linux, how to play with it, how to deal with it. So I find this easier way, and this command is just available for you, and you don't need to follow any other steps to just mount your Azure file share successfully on the Linux platform if you are using Linux servers in your organization. So in the end guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sure and I hope you like this video and you find this quite informative and helpful in some way. I'll certainly work more on these upcoming videos and come back with you with more practicals, more explanation about the topics. So till then, please take care of yourself, take care of your health, take care of your family. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye-bye. Peace.